Um, in 3 steps, he actually climbed up a mountain named Mahendra Parvat. And from that mountain, he glanced at the ocean, 800-mile ocean, and he was bracing himself to take that jump, to take that leap. This leap of Hanuman is considered to be a leap of faith. Every one of us, at some point in our life, we need to take that leap. A lot of us, we want to do great things. But greatness doesn't come by standing on this side of the ocean. Greatness comes by taking that leap. Of course, you also need to have the ability to do it. But along with the ability, you need to have the confidence to do it. Hanuman, as he was bracing himself to cross the ocean, he offered a small prayer. The Bhagavad Gita, which is again a great wisdom book, it talks about 5 factors that are important for anyone to achieve success in life. No matter what you do in life, you will need these 5 factors to be in place for you to be successful in any project of life. The first factor is the person. You choose the best person for any project, you'll get the best results. The second factor is the place. You choose the best place, you might get the best results because place does have an influence. The third is the type of instruments that you use. You use better quality instruments, there's a greater chance you'll get better results. The fourth is the types of endeavors. The more effort you put in, the greater chance that you'll get results. These 4 are in your hand. You can choose the best person, you can choose the best place, you can choose the best instruments, and you can put in the maximum amount of effort. But the Gita says there's a 5th factor that is beyond you. That's called the X factor behind success. And the 5th factor, Gita calls it as Daiva. Daiva could be hands of destiny, Daiva could mean hand of God, Daiva could mean luck, whatever you want to call it. But there is one factor that is beyond you. 1/5 of the 5 factors is not in your hand. And that 1/5, that one factor that is not in your hand, keeps you humble. Hanuman, right in the beginning of his journey, he decided to offer a small prayer, recognizing the Daiva, recognizing the divinity which is responsible for your success. And then he jumped. So when Hanuman jumped, he was flying rapidly across the ocean. And as he was right in the middle of the ocean, from within the ocean, a huge golden mountain rose up. And it is explained, the golden mountain was so massive that it literally blocked his path. So in India, rather in the Vedic culture, everything is a person. In today's world, if you actually look at the way today's world is, things are loved and people are used, right? So today, people are given numbers. Everyone is simply a number, whether it is in universities, whether it is in corporates, everyone has a number, and of course, the social security number. Right? So all of us in this world today, we have been reduced to numbers, but in the ancient culture, even things are considered to be people and respected. So here is a golden mountain that came up, and on top of the golden mountain was a personality named Mainak, who was rather in charge of the mountain, or you can say the god of the mountain. So Mainak, he spoke to Hanuman, and he told Hanuman, you have been searching for Sita for the last 2 months, you are exhausted, and you have an 800-mile ocean to cross. It must be exhausting for you to take up so much travel. So I have come here to offer you some comforts. I have come here to offer you some recreation. He said, my mountain has the best of parks, the best of fruits, the best of lakes. Come here, just take shelter of my mountain. I'll arrange for a spa. I'll arrange for every comfort for you so that you can be rejuvenated and go on your journey. Hanuman, he told Mainak, he just touched the mountain with his hands. Mind you, he didn't touch the mountain with his feet because feet is not considered to be very respectful in terms of the Vedic culture. You don't use your feet for everything. There's certain things that you touch with your hands. So Mainak touched the mountain very respectfully, and he said, I'm sorry, I can't stop because I have a mission to accomplish. Until I accomplish the mission, I can't rest. He touched the mountain and he went ahead. Mainak actually was very impressed. Mainak represents the first obstacle that comes in your path to achieving your goal. Each one of us are like Hanuman, trying to do something in our lives. So each one of us are on a different destination, different path, looking for a different thing. But as we go across the ocean, as we take this leap of faith and try to complete some project, try to achieve something, the first obstacle that comes on your path is Mainak, the golden mountain, which represents the desire for comforts, complacency. Typically, when you are trying to do something very intensely, someone will come up and tell you, why are you doing so intensely? Slow down. What's the hurry? Why are you in so much of an emergency mode? So most people in life try to slow us down, try to get us into the mode of complacency. And the mode of complacency is the mode in which you don't achieve much. You actually take comforts too seriously. Hanuman dealt with Mainak with alertness. Then as he went ahead on his journey, he was almost halfway through, more than halfway through rather, right from the middle of the ocean rose a huge demoness. This demoness had a mouth that was so wide and huge. Her name was Surasa. She told Hanumanji that I have a boon from Brahma that anyone who passes over this ocean has to enter my mouth. So you technically have to enter my mouth, you have no option. Hanuman said, see, I don't mind entering your mouth, but not now. Let me go finish my work and come back, and then you do whatever you want. Surasa said, no, nothing doing. You cannot go ahead without me. So Hanuman, he increased his size, became much bigger than Surasa's mouth. Surasa increased her size, became much bigger, much wider rather than Hanumanji's size. Hanuman became even bigger. Surasa became even bigger. Hanuman became even bigger. This went on and on until Surasa was so huge, her mouth was almost touching the skies. At that time, Hanuman had a little thought. He thought, what am I doing, wasting my time with her, trying to compete with her? So Hanuman was growing, she was growing, Hanuman was growing, she was growing. Where is the end to competition? Hanuman said, what will I achieve by proving that I am better than her? I'm not going to reach my goal by proving that I'm better than her. So he reduced himself to a size of a fly, entered her mouth and came out. And he told her, I've taken care of Brahma's boon, just let me go now. Surasa was very impressed with his intelligence. She actually blessed him that may you be successful in your journey. Surasa represents the second obstacle that comes on our path. Whenever we're trying to achieve anything in life, a lot of us get stuck in the competitive mentality, where we're just trying to prove to the other person that I'm better than you. In the process of trying to prove to the other person that I'm better than you, we end up forgetting our goal. We end up forgetting why we are on our path, isn't it? A lot of people get so stuck in the competitive mentality that they just lose their track. There was one person jogging, and as this person was jogging, he was, as his regular habit, another man jogged past him at great pace, and he just stared at him. So this man felt a little, irked. He ran faster, caught up with him, overtook him, and this man, he overtook him. So they went on and on. After about 15-20 minutes of running, he realized he has passed his house by almost 20 minutes. He just forgot, he lost track of why he's running. So many times we get so much caught up in this competitive mentality that we just forget, we lose track of our goal in life. So Hanuman decided, when I fly close to the ocean, there are too many obstacles coming. Let me fly higher. So he increased his altitude and started flying at a very high height. As Hanuman was flying, suddenly he just froze. He couldn't move ahead, he couldn't move behind, he just froze in one place. And Hanuman didn't know what was happening. Imagine if you are in an airplane and you freeze in one place, scary, isn't it? And suddenly Hanuman started being dragged below towards the ocean. And Hanuman didn't know what's happening. And that's when he recalled that someone had told him that this demoness whose name was Simhika. She is also known as Chaya Grahi. Chaya means shadow. Grahi means someone who can hold your shadow. So Simhika had the ability to hold on to someone's shadow and pull. The Hanuman was flying way up in the sky, but his shadow was in the ocean. And Simhika had caught the shadow of Hanuman and pulled him down. And he was being dragged into the mouth of Simhika, which was wide open. Hanuman took a tiny form, entered into her mouth, and as he entered into her throat and her guts, he started making small holes. And he entered her stomach and tore open her belly and came out. And Simhika died. Simhika represents the third obstacle that comes on our path to achieve perfection, to achieve greatness. The third obstacle that comes is jealousy. Unfortunately, a lot of us, we fall trap to envy and jealousy. What is the nature of envy? The nature of envy is that when you are envious of someone, you look for their faults and you hold on to that fault and pull that person down. Successful people are flying very high, isn't it? That's what success is all about, flying high. But when you're flying very high, there is someone who's looking for your shadow below. The shadow represents your faults. No matter how successful you are, there will always be one shadow that connects you to the ground. There will be one fault that all of us have, no matter how good you are. And that one fault is enough for a person who is envious to hold on to and pull you down. Isn't that what Twitter is all about? Successful people who have one little fault, and there are people who are there to jump on it and pull the person down. The nature of envy is that you do not look for inspiration in success, but you look for the little fault in someone who is successful. Just like when someone has something more than you, or someone is able to achieve something more than you, and you're not able to accept it, it's called jealousy. But the moment you're able to accept it, it's called inspiration. You can choose to be inspired by someone, or you can choose to be jealous of someone. A lot of people who are not able to accept that person's success, they tend to become jealous. So these are the three obstacles that Hanuman came across as he jumped across the ocean towards Lanka. Hanuman's journey is actually our journey. And all of us, as we're trying to set on this, on whatever little mission that we have, we all have to have this leap of faith. We all have to face complacency with alertness. We all have to face the competitive mentality with a little humility. We all have to face envy by destroying it at its root. And only when we are able to cross these four obstacles can we actually cross the ocean and reach our goals. I'm going to tell you all a little story from the Ramayana. And this story is going to really be a powerful inspiration for your relationships. One thing that everyone in this world is struggling with is good relationships, isn't it? And this story that I'm going to tell you all is going to be something that you remember for the rest of your life. And the wisdom that it provides is going to be something that can be a focal point in you maintaining your relationships. The story that I just spoke on Hanuman is a story about self-growth. And the story that I'm going to speak now is a story on relationships. This section of the Ramayana happens when Ram, Lakshman, and Sita are in the forest. While they were in the forest, they have been exiled for a period of 14 years. Ram and Sita are husband and wife, and Lakshman is a brother of Ram. Three of them have been in the forest for the last 13 years, serving an exile period of 14 years. And on the 13th year, this happens. Sita one day spots a golden deer. I'm sure all of us have seen deers, but have you ever seen a golden deer? The golden deer comes at a very particular intersection of the Ramayana, and the golden deer represents temptations in life. Every one of us, at one point in our life, come across a golden deer. That golden deer could be in the form of someone who's trying to bribe you to do something that you shouldn't do. The golden deer could be in the form of something attractive that attracts your attention, attracts your eyes, but something that you shouldn't be venturing towards. So many things in our life represent golden deers. So Sita, when she came across the golden deer, she went and told Ram, please get this deer for me. So Ram felt, my wife is asking me something for the first time in the last so many years, I must get it for her. So he decided to chase the golden deer. And before he left, he told Lakshman, his brother, please stay here and protect Sita in the middle of a forest. And Lakshman, he stayed there, and Ram went alone to search for the golden deer. As he reached closer to the golden deer, Ram realized it's not a golden deer, it's actually a demon who is disguised as a deer. And Ram, as soon as he realized it's not a golden deer, he shot an arrow and killed the golden deer. And that demon, his name was Marich, while he was dying, loudly in the voice of Ram, he shouted out the name of Sita and Lakshman for help. And Marich died. In the meanwhile, Sita and Lakshman, they are standing there. They hear the voice of Ram calling for help. And Sita panics. She tells Lakshman, go help your brother. So Lakshman tells her, don't worry. Nothing can go wrong with Ram. He was very confident of Ram. In fact, Lakshman tells Sita that the golden deer was not a golden deer. Have you ever seen a golden deer in your life? There is nothing called a golden deer in creation. And Lakshman was thinking very logically. But Sita wasn't thinking logically because she was concerned. When you're concerned, logic goes for a toss, isn't it? When you're confident, logic plays a big role in your life. So Sita was very concerned about Ram and she wasn't able to think straight, and she was so concerned that she began to panic. She was pushing Lakshman to go, Lakshman was not budging. And then she got really upset. And in her anger, in her panic, in her concern, she spoke words that really hurt Lakshman. She said, I know why you're here in the forest with us. She's telling her brother-in-law this. She said, I know why you're here in the forest with us. You're here waiting for a chance that your brother goes away so that you can enjoy me. She's doubting his character. So Lakshman was so hurt because he never had wrong intentions. And he didn't even realize why Sita is speaking such words. He was so hurt. He told Sita, I'm going from here. But when I come back, I'm sure you won't be here. So Lakshman left. And while Lakshman reached where Ram was, Ram asked him, why did you come here? I told you to guard Sita. And then they came back and they saw Sita's missing. There was a demon named Ravan who had kidnapped Sita. And when Ram saw Sita's missing, Ram really got furious at Lakshman, started blasting him. He said, you're useless. The only thing I told you to do, you can't do that. You have no competence. Imagine what's going on in Lakshman's heart. The two people that he really loved the most, the two people that he has sacrificed his youth for, sacrificed his family for, sacrificed his comforts for, one is doubting his character and one is doubting his competence. If you are in a situation where your character and competence is doubted, will you continue being there? Most people would have said, hell with both of you all, I'm going back. He would have packed his bag and gone back to his home. But interestingly, Lakshman continues being there. And this teaches us a very important secret of lasting relationships. Each one of us, we will go through such situations of life. If you don't know the answer to this particular question that I'm going to ask you, or rather, if you don't know the secret that I'm about to tell you all, it will save so many relationships. 30 years of relationship can get destroyed in 30 seconds if you don't know this rule that I'm going to share. So many of us, we get insulted by people we love the most, isn't it? When someone who's a stranger insults us, it doesn't pain us so much. But someone who is the closest, whom we love the most, if that person insults us, the pain is the most. What made Lakshman in such a situation stay put? What inspired Lakshman to continue the relationship in spite of what he went through? Lakshman did what I call as press the pause button. So when Sita spoke those words, he pressed the pause button and he asked himself a question. The question he asked himself was, does Sita mean what she spoke? And the answer that he got from within was, no. Her concern for Ram is coming out in the form of those words. And then when Ram spoke those words, he again pressed the pause button and he asked himself the same question. Does Ram mean what he spoke? And the answer that he got was no. His concern for Sita is coming out in the form of those words. Now, when we go through a situation like this, Do you think you have the time to press the pause button and all? In most situations, when we are insulted, when we go through a phase like this, we are just waiting to slash back on the person, isn't it? So what made Lakshman press the pause button? So just to give you a context, Lakshman was an angry young man all through the Ramayana. He would get angry at the drop of his hat. But in this context, in this particular situation, he was cool and calm. How come? What made him cool and calm? One simple thought. There was one simple thought that helped him deal with the situation in the most smart, or rather in a more sensitive way. This thought was a thought of gratitude. When Sita spoke those words, Lakshman thought, Sita has deposited 25 years of love in this relationship, and she has made one withdrawal. She's made one mistake. Should I forget to be grateful for the 25 years of love and focus on this one mistake of hers? This one thought of gratitude helped Lakshman press the pause button. And when Ram spoke those words, again, Lakshman had this one thought of gratitude. 40 years Ram has deposited love in this relationship, and he has made one withdrawal. Should I forget to be grateful for the 40 years of love and focus on this one mistake that he has made? And that one thought of gratitude helped Lakshman sail through a very tough time in his life. It is said, the quality of my communication with the world outside determines my success, but the quality of my communication to the world inside determines my happiness. Let me tell you a small story. One time, an old man saw a mother talking to her daughter in a mall. And this little girl was crying like mad, feeling and crying. When small children cry, it's very difficult to handle, isn't it? It's almost like they have a amplifier fitted in, massive. So this lady was looking at this little girl and telling, Jennifer, relax. The girl was crying and crying and crying. This lady looked at her and said, Jennifer, don't create a scene over here, just relax. And this girl was crying all the more. This lady looked at her and said, Jennifer, please hold yourself, just relax. This old man walked up to this lady and told her, ma'am, don't you think you're talking a language that is too adult-like? Why don't you talk a more child-friendly language? This lady looked at him and she said, what makes you think I'm talking to her? Jennifer is my name. I'm telling myself, Jennifer, relax. There are many situations in life where we can't do anything about what others are trying to say or do, isn't it? There are many situations in life where we have no control over how others behave or how others speak. But we do have control over how we behave and how we speak. Reacting is easy, but responding is not easy. Therefore, the whole idea that the Ramayana is trying to teach us through this little story is the quality of my communication with the world outside determines my success, but the quality of my communication with the world inside determines my happiness. Especially when it comes to relationships, learn to talk to yourself. Learn to communicate with yourself. So the next time you're standing in a line and somebody jumps it, tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. Next time you see a situation where you do not have a control or a say over there, you talk to yourself, tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. The Ramayana is symbolic in many levels. Every story of the Ramayana is fascinatingly deep and fascinatingly relevant to life. That's why I call my entire series as Ramayana, the game of life. When I actually started writing the series, I realized that this can actually change the game of our life. There are two ways to participate in any game. The first way to participate in a game is to sit as a spectator. There are many people, actually maximum number of people sit as spectators, right? And they watch the game being played. The second way to participate in a game is as a player. You're there playing, you're there trying to do something about the game. Most of us, we tend to become spectators in the game of our life. Somebody else presses a button and we are laughing. Somebody else presses a button and we are crying. Almost as if we have no control over how we behave. Almost as if we have no control over what happens to us and how we tend to respond to it. And therefore, the way I look at the Ramayana is, every story of the Ramayana is written in a way that can help us think, that can help us reevaluate our actions. The Ramayana, as I said, if you remember, I began by telling you all about the word Vanara. And I said this word is a very special word, right? So I'm going to talk to you about how Ramayana is so fascinatingly symbolic in the way it presents itself. Ramayana essentially it happens in 3 cities. There's a city of Ayodhya right on top in north of India. There's a city of Lanka way down in the south. And in between the city known as Kishkinda, which is somewhere in between the 2 cities. These 3 cities of the Ramayana actually represent 3 different mindsets. The city of Ayodhya represents a mindset which is known as Sanskriti. It's a mindset of progressive thinking. It's a mindset of which represents high character. The mindset of Lanka is known as Vikriti. So Sanskriti means culture, Vikriti means vulture. Vulture essentially means people who snatch and grab from others. So the mindset of Lanka is eat, drink, and be merry. Of course, you might say it seems very familiar, but that's what the mindset of Lanka is. So the idea of Lanka means grabbing from others. There's no morals, there is no values, there's no character there. And Kishkinda is in between. And just as it is geographically in between the 2 cities, the mindset also is between the 2 cities. The people of Kishkinda are known as Vanaras. Their mindset is exactly in between the 2 mindsets. The people of Ayodhya are very grateful people. And if there is any fight between 2 brothers in Ayodhya, usually it doesn't happen. If there is a fight, the fight is not between right and wrong. The fight is always between what is right and what is more right. So one person is saying this is right, the other person is saying this is more right. In Lanka, usually brothers don't fight because there's a fear that if I fight, if I say something, I'll be thrown out. And so sometimes fear also seems like harmony, but it's not. So in Lanka, whenever there is a fight or whenever there's a discussion, the discussion is not between right and wrong because there's no right in Lanka. The discussion is between what is wrong and what is more wrong. And in between is Kishkinda. In Kishkinda, the discussion is always right and wrong. One person is saying, I'm right, you're wrong. The other person is saying, I'm right, you're wrong. So these 3 are 3 different mindsets, 3 different perspectives of looking at yourself and looking at the world. The reason I'm saying Kishkinda, rather, the reason I'm saying this word Vana is a very special word is because I'm going to focus on that right now. The Kishkinda mindset is a mindset which is known as Prakriti. Ayodhya, I said, is Sanskriti, which means culture. Lanka, I said, is Vikriti, which means vulture. And Kishkinda is known as Prakriti, which means nature. Just like we're standing on the shore of an ocean, can you see you're standing on land or can you say that you're standing in water? It's confusing, isn't it? When the water comes in, you're standing in water. When the water recedes, you're standing on land. That's exactly the mindset of Kishkinda. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes it tends towards Ayodhya mindset, which is a very cultured mindset. And sometimes it tends towards towards Lanka mindset, which is a very self-destructive mindset. Kishkinda, in Kishkinda, there are different types of Vanaras, different types of monkeys. We spoke about Hanuman, isn't it? Hanuman, his mindset is almost like that of Ayodhya. Great, high character, high valued, and very, very beautiful. And in Kishkinda, there are monkeys like Vali, whose mindset is almost like that of Lanka. Absolutely distorted, absolutely selfish, very, very self-obsessed. And in between are the Sugriv-like Vanaras. Hanuman is very clear what he wants in life. And Vali is very, very clear what he wants in life. Sometimes bad people are more clearer than good people. Absolutely clear. So the in between is Sugriv-like Vanaras. The Sugriv-like guys are the confused lot. When they associate with Hanuman, they actually think beautifully. They think from the point of view of high values. But when they associate with Vali, they actually think completely opposite. So it almost seems like a split personality. To a great extent, all of us are like Sugriv. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Early in the morning, the best mood the best consciousness and the best thoughts come. And as the day progresses, we become more and more selfish and more self-centered, isn't it? So the middle monkeys, Sugriv-like monkeys, are the maximum in Kishkinda. And that's why this word Vanara is used by Valmiki in the Ramayana. What is the meaning of the word Vanara? Vanara comes from the word Nara. Nara means human. And Vanara is a question. It means, are you human? So, the Ramayana leaves us with a rhetoric question that we have to ask ourselves every day. To the extent I behave like Ayodhya Vasis, to that extent I'm human. And to the extent I behave like Lanka Vasis, to that extent I'm a demon. And the monkey is something in between, human and demon. Somewhere in between it comes, basically. So every Vanara in Kishkinda has to ask himself this question every day. Unfortunately, some Vanaras like Sugriv, they think that being human means looking human. Sugriv has the ability to disguise himself, to look like a human being. So many times when he goes for important meetings, he disguises himself and looks like a human and goes. Isn't that how we are? We all dress ourselves nicely. We all groom ourselves nicely. We all behave nicely. But is that what is required to become a human? That's only the externals of what human is, isn't it? But the internal of what human is much more different. And that is why the Ramayana leaves us with the rhetoric question, Vanara. Each one of us have to ask ourselves, am I human? And to the extent I behave like the Ayodhya Vasis, to the extent I inculcate the mood of Ayodhya, to that extent I am human. And to the extent I inculcate the mood of Lanka, to that extent, Charles Darwin is right. We came from monkeys. Thank you very much. I hope whatever I said made sense to all of you. Any questions, comments, please? Please feel free to ask. Yes.
Thank you so much for your storytelling. I really enjoyed it. And actually, in the early days of the pandemic, I was looking for something to read, and I read the first in your volume of The Game of Life.
Oh,
so thank you so much for that. I have a question that's been bugging me for a long time. I think I've been waiting a long time to answer this question. I'm sorry, to ask this question. And probably maybe today I'll receive an answer. What is your, I guess this has less to do with what you've spoken about today, and more to do with my own struggles with the Ramayana. But can you speak more about the depiction of Sita and her place as a goddess there? Because sometimes I really struggle with how she was treated in the storytelling. And it makes, sometimes I think in some tellings it makes Ram out to look very sexist. So I would love your take on that.
I almost, every time I speak on the Ramayana, I get this as a question. So I have made a podcast on it.
Okay.
And this podcast has 13 different ways of looking at this episode.
Okay.
And I would love for you to hear that podcast because it will give you a more holistic approach towards that story.
Okay.
What happens is, let me just give you a simple, I'll ask you a simple question. Suppose you have a young man who's just got married, who comes to America for a job, and he's financially struggling like anything. He just doesn't have a good source of income, but somehow he's just managed to get this job. And his wife, she's just married to him. She doesn't have a job. She's totally dependent on him. They shift to America. In 1 month, he gets some news that his mother is ailing. She's on her deathbed. And this man goes to his boss and asks him for leave to go back and take care of his ailing mother. The boss tells him, if you take leave now, you don't come back. Now this man is struggling between a choice. Should he stay back and take care of his wife, take care of his responsibilities here? Or should he go back because of gratitude to his mother? Now, in such a situation, what is right? Difficult to say, right? Somebody might say, he has a responsibility now that is more important than what he has towards his mother. Whatever. My answer is very simple. that person in that situation, what he does is something that I would never be able to put myself in his shoes and understand. So whatever decision he takes at that point in time, it's his call, right? So there's nothing like right and wrong. Many times in life, when we judge events of life, sitting in an easy room, sitting in a comfortable cushion, and then we are judging an event that happened many years back. In my situation, I'm completely right to pass judgments. But the question is that, am I able to understand the entire situation, entire context? Many times, our eyes are laced with certain narratives that make us think in a particular way, right? But there may be possibly the many other ways of looking at it. There may be many other ways of understanding an event. And that's why stories are very important to be narrated from multiple angles. It is not fair to narrate a story from just one angle and hammer that angle down, And the more we understand the depths of these characters, the more we understand the psychology of the characters, and the more we understand the events around any one incident. Because no one event is independent. There are hundreds of events that influence every single event. And only when we understand the context, we'll be able to appreciate the characters better. So I will make sure that you get that podcast. I'll send it to Lee, and hopefully he'll share it with all of y'all. You must hear it. That will give you a solid perspective of looking at the one incident from 13 different angles, and it will probably help you in your struggles. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments, please?
So in your study, how many different Ramayanas have you did your study on it?
Yeah.
But Valmiki Ramayana is the main one. Then
So I studied many Ramayans. I've studied hundreds and hundreds of books. And specifically, I have focused on 3 different Ramayans as my main base. Valmiki's storyline is the base of the whole thing. I have also added analogies and poetic expressions from Kamba Ramayana, which is a Tamil poetry. And I also added from Tulsidasa's Ramacharita And these 2, and in addition to that, there are so many commentaries of great teachers which I've added in. And of course, there is a many. So usually any one epic in India has cross-reference from many other epics. So I added many cross-references. And when you read it, it reads like a novel. You don't feel that you're reading a ancient text which is complicated in Sanskrit. When you read it, you'll read as if you're reading like a mystery novel. Fast-paced, intriguing, very speedy narrative. But throughout the books, I have put in life lessons, just like the way I've been speaking. That's the exact style in which I've been writing. Yes, sir.
Does Valmiki talk about what is the essential character of a person? So I ask this question because of this concept of duality, right? And there's no bad, there's no good, right? There's no wrong, there's no right. Right? Both have to exist. Yeah. And you made the example of culture and nurture and nature. I think it's getting to that, but you need different beings. Right? You need good and bad.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile the essential character for the man?
Yeah. So, in my understanding, Valmiki has played the role of a historian. A good historian is someone who presents history as it is, not from the point of view of as I see it, basically. So, Valmiki has not made Ram overly good, and he has not made Ravan overly bad. He's presented good side of Ravan also when there is to be presented. And he has presented weaknesses of Ram also when there is to be presented. And more than anything else, he has helped us look at ourselves through the lens of these characters, basically. So, as I'm going through the character of as I'm studying the character of the Ramayana, it just helps me start looking at my own way of looking at life and my own perspectives of looking at life. So the Ramayana is written in a way that is self-introspective, basically. So Valmiki doesn't say this is the right way to do it, He just gives a lot of thoughts, and then on the way you conclude what you think is the best way to live life. Someone might be inspired by Ravan's way of living life. That's great. Please go ahead. Someone may be inspired by Shurpanakha's way of living life. Please go ahead. Someone may be inspired by Hanuman's way of living life. Please go ahead. So these are all ways of living life, and you decide what you want to be inspired. So that's the way at least my study of Ramayana helps me understand. Okay. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I really like the way the storytelling helped make it in the last bit where you talk about, the monkey mind, which is like what our own striving and yoga is, being in that state of equanimity, where you're bringing that balance and, coming to the right decision with discernment, so I like that perspective, which, growing up, I was in India, we all were experienced with Mahabharata and Ramayana tales were told to us, but I really like that perspective. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Very, very grateful to all of you all for your patient listening. And I'm so grateful to Princeton for allowing me to come here and share my thoughts. Very grateful to my great friend Vineet for organizing this. And I'm hoping that I'm leaving all of you with good thoughts, but also a desire to read the Ramayana. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. I'm not sure what the status, most of it's outside. I suspect there are none, but if there are, you're welcome to them. But also before you go, we'd love to give you food, but we also love to give you more food for thought. So if you are so inspired, I believe we have some books back there. Can you hold up? So we have Timeless Tales to Ignite Your Mind. And then my vision is very bad. Hanuman Chalisa. And then a beautiful little, how would you describe this Hanuman Chalisa? A book of reflections, of meditations, of stories, reflections. Stories, reflections, beautiful. So if you'd like to, we have them available, and you can see the gentleman in the back. I believe you have the ability to take credit cards as well if you need to. Yeah. And so we're grateful to also our friends from the ISKCON Temple in Plainfield, New Jersey, who are helping with the book sales. So please don't be shy and grab a copy of the book and keep the stories going and take them home with you. Okay, thank you all so much on behalf of the Hindu Life program once again. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.